Hello and welcome to my channel. This is the third tutorial of conditional statements in C#. In this video, I'm going to cover the ternary operator, how it works. Ternary operator is like short for if-else statement. When you have two conditions and there will be one of them will be true. It is used in many programming languages and it has kind of same syntax in all the programming languages that I know. It has three operands, as you can see in this syntax. We have a condition. If the condition is true, the first expression is returned. If the condition is false, the second one is returned. You can change around these based on your requirement. Whatever the result of this expression is, that will be stored in this variable. The type of this variable is depending on the return of this expression. If the return is Boolean, then it will be a bool variable. If the return is an integer number, it should be int. Or if the return is a string, then the type of the variable should be as a string. So I'm going to demonstrate this ternary operator in my next example that I'm going to demonstrate in a minute. Can you please all follow me and open Visual Studio? So I'm back to Visual Studio. This was the previous thing, an example that we covered in the switch statement. Let's open a new project, and this project I'm going to call this as conditional ternary operator. Yeah, we want to save changes to the previous program. So, right, let's have a look. So we have this code which has this fundamental structure. Let's go to the main method and type some code. So the first thing I would like to type here is ternary operator in C#. It's just something printed on the screen. Console.read console.read key. Again, it's just a whole screen. You don't have to type this if you go for the .NET Core option, but it's okay, it doesn't cost a lot. But it just gives me the structure, so I don't have to type this thing. Right, let's type something here for this ternary operator. Let's say enter time in 24 hours format. I'm going to show you this in a couple of different ways. So if I want to, let's say, hours equal to, or maybe you can just say, let's say, end time. I just want to store hours only. And for that, I'm going to just say console.readLine, because I may be expecting more than one number, like 24, 12. Right, I can just simply say int dot pass. So the time that I enter should be passed into integer. So here I'm going to take the user input. That input will be converted, passed into integer, stored in time variable. So now I'm going to create a string result, my variable, where I'm going to store the result. And here the expression is time less than 18. That means 6 p.m. So if the time is less than 15, I'm going to put a question mark here, and I should store in the result, let's say, have a good day. If the time is not less than 18, in that case, I want to store in the result variable, let's say, have a good evening. Right, let's see what is stored in our code. So let's execute this. I'm expecting this on the screen, this one asking user to enter time. Once the time is inserted, then it should print me have a good day or have a good evening. That result should be stored in the in the result variable, and that result then we are printing on the screen. So let's have a look. So enter the time. Let's say I enter the time as 11. That means morning 11 a.m. So it says have a good day. What if I print it now and I enter, let's say this is 7 p.m. So if I enter this, it says have a good evening. Now, this is one example which nicely it explains what it is. As you can see, at the time, if you less than at 18, it will print have a good day. That means it's still a day. And if it is not less than 18, that means more than 18, then it print have a good evening. Another thing I want to show here is, what if I want to take, instead of taking the user input, what if I want the system to tell me what time is this? So for that, there's a built-in function, a built-in class called DateTime. It can be used in hundreds of different ways. So let's say I want to store here dt, which stores the date. So this will store me dt. Right. So if I execute this code now, let's say datetime dt equal to datetime.now. What it does, if I execute it, let me comment this out so you can see what is stored in the dt. So if I execute this now, datetime dt, and I'm printing dt, remember in C# there is no date class, they're datetime together. So it prints me all this, 28 April, 1937, and minutes, hours, and minutes, and seconds, and all this. We don't need all this. Instead of this, all I want here is, let's say, I want hours only. I don't need to know the minutes, seconds, and the day, and the month, and the year. So for that, I can just type here in time equal to dt dot. Look, I can pick here year, week, and quite a lot of options shows me. But all I'm interested in now, hours. Right? So I want to get hours only from the dt, which is the dt is actually a datetime object. It has day and the year and the month and the hours and everything. All I'm interested, just hours. To get hours only from dt object. DateTime is actually a built-in class in C#. Right, so let me uncomment this one here. Right, that. So, what's happening in our code? So you got DateTime. We don't need everything. All we need hours. And now, if the hours automatically, actually I don't need to print this as well now. So if the hours are, or maybe if you want just to see what is stored in dt, you can still run it. So let's say we want to get only hours from the dt, datetime. Hours are stored in a time. So if the time now is less than 18, it will print have a good day. If the hours now are more than 18, it will print on the screen have a good evening. Yeah. The result of this expression is stored in the result variable. And that result variable we are printing here on the screen. So let's execute this. Right, so this is the dt value, which is a day, time, and everything. But we just took hours, and we find out this is an evening, which prints on the screen, have a good evening. So I show you two examples. One where you can ask user to enter the time, the hours, and based on that, you can execute this expression. The second option is to pick the default system current date. Yeah. So this will print the current date and time. But because we are not interested in date and time, yeah, so we picked only hours from date and time. And based on the hours that we stored in time, we can find out is it a day or evening. So this is the ternary operator. That's how it works. I show you two examples here in this small program. Now it is your time to implement this and complete a task which I'm going to show you in the next slide. So based on the program that I demonstrated in my Visual Studio, now you need to complete this task. You need to ask user to enter an integer number, any integer number from 1 to hundreds and thousands and millions. Now, then you need to write a piece of code to find out if the number entered is even or odd and print the result on the screen. That means the number entered is odd or even. So please do this and then share your answer, your code in the chat. I will also try to include the code for this, but please don't look at it until you try it yourself.